If you stop moving for just a second, I mean, really freeze right where you are, maybe pull the car over, or just pause what you're doing and just listen. Not with your ears, but inside. Beyond all the noise, the traffic, the constant scrolling, there's this,
The background radiation of modern life.
Exactly. It's that gnawing sense that the wheels are coming off, that things are broken or maybe spiraling.
Oh, that we're all just waiting for some giant shoe to drop.
Yes, and the shoe is the size of an asteroid. And, we treat this feeling like it's a mood disorder. We try to medicate it or distract ourselves or argue about whose fault it is. But for this deep dive, I want to try something else. I want to look for a logical cause. What if this feeling isn't just noise?
What if it's a notification?
A notification, like a push alert from a news app.
Think bigger. Much bigger. Imagine you're running, say, a massive server farm, a huge interconnected network.
Okay.
And a red light starts blinking on the main dashboard.
Yeah.
You don't send the red light to therapy, right?
Yeah.
You don't argue with the light about its politics. You check the logs. You realize the system has hit a critical error. That anxiety you're describing.
Yeah.
That's the system error. It's a notification that the human psyche is, right now, operating way out of alignment with the universal laws that govern it.
So we're glitching as a species.
We are running corrupted software on hardware that was designed for something else entirely. And the mission for today, for this deep dive, is to open the manual. We're looking at a specific set of texts, verses 10.47 through 10.64 from the Quran.
Okay.
But we aren't going to read them as, religious scripture in the typical sense.
Right.
We're going to analyze them as a technical manual for what the text itself calls the grand correction.
You're framing this as a software patch.
It is the ultimate software patch.
Oh.
I mean, the text uses the word Shifa. We usually translate that as healing.
Right, healing.
But in this context, in a systemic context, it's much closer to a debugger. It is software designed to locate the corrupted code, the fear, the doubt, the arrogance, and literally overwrite it with a protocol that aligns with what it calls sovereign intelligence.
Okay, I definitely want to get into the patch because I think probably everyone listening could use an upgrade right now. But before we install anything, we have to understand the virus.
You have to run the diagnostic first.
Exactly. If the human condition feels broken, we're certainly not the first people to notice this. I mean, humanity has been trying to diagnose this sickness for thousands of years.
Oh, absolutely. And if you look at the source material we have in front of us, it gives this really fascinating comparative analysis. It's crucial to establish this baseline because pretty much every major worldview agrees that something is wrong with us. They just
Right.
they disagree on the root cause.
Right. Okay. Let's run through the diagnostics because I think depending on where you grew up or what books you read, you have a completely different name for this brokenness. So if we look at the Christian framework, the diagnosis is incredibly specific, isn't it?
It is. In classical Christian theology, the illness is defined as sin. And not just doing bad things, but specifically original sin.
Meaning it's an inherited condition.
Correct. The idea is that it isn't just that you did something wrong, it's that you are wrong, fundamentally. It's seen as a basic separation from the Creator, an inherited state of spiritual brokenness.
So because the problem is a severed relationship.
The cure has to be redemption, a kind of spiritual transaction where you are born again, you're washed clean.
It's a restoration of your status, like your account was banned and you need an admin to come in and manually reinstate it.
That's a very good analogy for it.
Then you have Judaism, which feels a bit more, I don't know, mechanical, or at least more active.
Active is exactly the right word. The core concept is tikkun olam,
Repairing the world.
repairing the world. The mystical tradition, Kabbalah, has this idea that creation involved the shattering of divine vessels, which scattered sparks of holiness everywhere. So the illness, in this view, is that the world is literally in pieces.
So it's not a broken relationship, it's a broken object, a broken reality.
Precisely. And so the cure isn't just about belief, it's about mitzvot, good deeds. You physically heal the world by finding these sparks and piecing them back together through acts of justice and charity.
It's like a cosmic puzzle you have to solve. So, okay, Christianity says we are separated. Judaism says we are shattered. Then if we move east, Hinduism and Buddhism seem to have a totally different take on why we're all so miserable.
They do. They shift the focus entirely from relationship to consciousness.
Okay.
In Hinduism, the illness is called avidya,
Which means ignorance.
ignorance. We're sick because we're hallucinating. We're attached to the illusion of the material world, this grand Maya. So the cure is moksha liberation. You have to wake up from the dream.
Right. And Buddhism sharpens this even further, doesn't it?
It does. It gets very clinical. The diagnosis is dukkha, suffering. And the root cause is diagnosed as tanha, or craving. You suffer because you want things to be permanent when they are, by their very nature, temporary.
And the cure for that is the Eightfold Path.
A systematic training program to stop the craving, a kind of cognitive behavioral therapy for the soul.
So we have separation, shattered sparks, ignorance, and craving. These are the big historical diagnoses. Now let's bring in the perspective from our source material. How does this text diagnose the glitch differently?
It's remarkably precise. It doesn't just say you're a sinner in a general sense, or life is suffering. It identifies specific diseases of the heart that function like malware.
Like what?
Well, the text points to things like shak, which is a kind of deep-seated corrosive doubt.
Okay.
Then there's nifaq, which is hypocrisy, and kibr, arrogance. But here's the pivot. The Quran seems to view these not just as moral failings,
But
as information processing errors. When you have hypocrisy or arrogance running in your background processes, you are processing data incorrectly. You literally become unable to distinguish true from false.
So it's a cognitive distortion. You're navigating with a broken GPS.
It's worse than that.
Yeah.
You're navigating with a GPS that is actively lying to you because you programmed it to lie.
Wow.
Think about nifaq, hypocrisy. It creates a duality in the system. Your internal drive is running one script, but you're outputting a completely different signal to the world.
That would create a lot of friction.
Exactly. It creates heat. And eventually, the processor just burns out. And that's why the cure, the Shifa, isn't just about feeling comfort or getting a pat on the back. It's a total recalibration of your internal navigation system. It's about aligning your personal operating system with the external reality of the universe.
Which brings us directly to the patch.
The patch.
The source material highlights two key verses here, 10.57 and 17.82, and it breaks down the mechanism of this correction into three parts. I love this because it sounds like a tech stack. We've got Nur, Shifa, and Huda.
Let's break those down because the order of operations is absolutely critical. You can't just jump to the end.
Okay.
The text says, "There has now come to you enlightenment from your Lord." This is connected to the concept of Nur, or light. You should think of this as the diagnostic tool.
The first step.
The very first step. You cannot fix a problem you cannot see.
So Nur isn't just, holy vibes or a nice feeling. It's visibility. It's turning the lights on in the server room so you can actually see which cable is unplugged.
Precisely. It distinguishes valid data from invalid data. It exposes the contradictions in your own behavior, in your own thinking. Most of us, we live in the dark about our own motivations.
Sure.
We think we're angry for a righteous reason. But Nur reveals we're actually just wounded and we're lashing out.
Oh.
And once that light is on, and only when that light is on, can you move to the second stage,
Which is Shifa.
Shifa, healing. This is the active removal of the virus. The text says it's a healing for all that troubles your hearts. It surgically removes the doubt and the hypocrisy that the light just revealed.
That sounds, honestly, that sounds painful. Realizing you've been a hypocrite isn't exactly a fun Tuesday afternoon.
Well, surgery is never fun, but it saves your life. If you have a tumor, you don't want a massage. You want a scalpel.
Fair point.
Shifa is that scalpel. It removes the blockage. And only once the virus is quarantined and removed can you finally move to the third stage.
Huda.
Huda. Guidance. This is the new operating system. It's a practical framework, the ethical code, the daily protocols that ensures the system runs smoothly from now on.
So it's not enough to just remove the bad code.
You have to run the good code. You need the replacement.
Okay, so let's bring this home. Why does this matter to the person listening right now who's just trying to get through their commute without having a panic attack? Why do they need Nur and Shifa?
Because without that diagnostic enlightenment, the heart remains in a state of, existential confusion. You're trying to process the heavy, heavy reality of the world.
The wars, the tragedies, your own personal failures.
All of it. You're trying to process all that without the proper software. You're trying to run a high-definition, complex reality on a corrupted old DOS system. Of course it crashes. Of course you feel anxiety. The grand correction is about upgrading your capacity to process reality so you don't burn out your own motherboard.
And this leads us, I think, directly into the heaviest part of the source material. We've talked about the software, but software runs on rules, logic gates. If this, then that. And in this text, the rules are described with the weight of physics. We're talking about the law of just requital.
This is where we have to shift our thinking entirely. We tend to think of divine justice as a kind of courtroom drama,
Right. A judge on a bench looking at a file.
deciding whether to be nice or mean today. The Quran, specifically in these verses 10.47 through 10.56, frames it completely differently. It frames justice as gravity.
Gravity doesn't care if you're a nice person. If you step off a ledge, you fall. It's totally impersonal.
It is non-negotiable. The perspective here is that the universe is governed by sovereign intelligence. It's an automated system. Verse 10.47 states, every community has had a messenger. They were judged in all equity only after their messenger came, and they were never wronged.
That phrase, never wronged, really sticks out to me. It implies a kind of mathematical precision, like you get exactly to the decimal point what you put in.
It implies the system cannot make a mistake. There are no rounding errors in divine law. And to prove just how absolute this law is, you have to look at verse 10.49. This is shocking if you really think about it.
What does it say?
The messenger himself, the prophet, is told to say to the people, I have no power to avert any harm even from myself or benefit myself contrary to the laws of God.
That's huge. I mean, usually in religious structures, the leader is the guy who can pull strings. He's the one with the direct line to get you out of trouble.
Not here. Here, he is the subject of the system, not the architect of it. And this just strips away the whole idea of favoritism. It's terrifying, in a way, because there's no nepotism to save you.
But it's also incredibly stabilizing.
Exactly. It means the rules are fixed. If even the messenger cannot cheat the laws of cause and effect, then we certainly can't. But this creates a new kind of anxiety.
Which is?
Well, if the rules are so fixed and so just, why is the world so unjust? The text anticipates this human response in verse 10.48. People ask, when will the promise be fulfilled?
Right. If this system is so great, why are the bad guys winning? Why is the clock ticking so slowly? We want justice with, Amazon Prime delivery speeds.
And this is where the text introduces the concept of the respite. The delay in punishment isn't a malfunction. It's a feature of the system.
A feature?
Yes. The clock is ticking. Verse 10.50 asks this haunting question. Have you thought, when his retribution comes to you suddenly by night or in the bustling day, what portion of it would the guilty wish to hasten?
It's the horror of the realization. You were begging for it to happen fast, but you didn't actually realize what it was.
And here's the real aha moment for this law of just requital. Verses 10.52 and 10.54 describe the nature of the punishment. It says, the oppressors will be told to taste the eternal torment, the exact reward of what you earned.
The exact reward. There's that precision again.
It's a mirror. The punishment isn't an arbitrary thunderbolt thrown by an angry deity. The punishment is the consequence of your own actions returning to you, is what the text calls the self-inflicted doom.
That just reframes the whole concept of hell or punishment. It's not a sentence that's handed down. It's a return on investment.
A return on a bad investment.
You invested in oppression, you invested in chaos, and now the market is correcting.
Exactly. And the text emphasizes that if these people possessed everything on earth, they would offer it as a ransom to escape this moment. But you can't bribe gravity.
You can't negotiate with a mathematical return.
You can't. This is the grand correction. It's the moment where the subjective reality of the oppressor, who, thought they could get away with it, crashes headfirst into the objective reality of the divine law.
So, okay, if the system is perfect and the laws are as fixed as gravity, how do we mess it up so badly? What is the specific human error that throws everything off balance? Because if the system is designed for flow, why is everything so stagnant and broken?
The sources call it innovation, but in our tech analogy, we should probably call it bloatware, or maybe even malware. We're looking at verses 10.59 and 10.60 here.
The text mentions tampering with religion. What does that mean in this context?
It identifies a very specific and apparently very dangerous behavior. Taking the clean, open source code of the universe and adding your own restricted permissions to it.
I'm not sure I follow.
Look at the question. Verse 10.59 asks, it's a biting question. It says, have you considered how God sends down to you all kinds of provisions? Then you render some of them unlawful and some lawful.
So this is about making up rules. You can't eat this, or you can't wear that, or God hates those people over there.
It's about creating what the source material calls tumors in the social body. The text says, God gave provisions for the mind and for the body. He gave us a system designed for flow, for utilization, for gratitude. But then humans intervene. We invent lies. We attribute our own prejudices and our own control mechanisms to the architect.
We say, God says you can't do this, when in fact God never said that at all.
We create a bottleneck in the system.
We're introducing corrupt code.
Exactly. And you might ask, why is this so dangerous? Why does the Quran take such a hard line on this?
Well, I am asking that.
Because it paralyzes moral progress. When you fill a religion with man-made prohibitions, you block the flow of Shifa. You prevent people from enjoying the bounty that verse 10.58 talks about. You create a culture of guilt instead of a culture of gratitude.
It reminds me of those horrible software updates that just slow your phone down to a crawl because they're full of features nobody asked for, and they actually break the core function of the phone.
That is a perfect analogy. The core function is gratitude and justice. The innovation, the bloatware, is arbitrary ritualism and control. And so the cure, the Shifa, involves surgically removing these tumors.
Ow.
It's about restoring the system to its factory settings. Pure gratitude, pure acknowledgement of the source. It's about stripping away all the layers of cultural baggage and human invention to get back to the clean, elegant source code.
Factory settings. I like that. But if we're going to restore to factory settings, we need to know what state the device is in right now. And that requires data. You need a log, a perfect log of everything that's happened.
Which brings us to the most awe-inspiring and, let's be honest, maybe the most terrifying part of this whole deep dive. The database.
Verse 10.61.
In whatever condition you may be and whatever of the Quran you may be reciting, not an atom's weight in the low nor in the high escapes your Lord's knowledge.
Not an atom's weight. That's comprehensive.
It's total surveillance.
Yeah.
But not in the dystopian Orwellian sense where there's a guy in a van listening to your calls.
Yeah.
No, it's in the quantum physics sense.
Right.
The universe is a recording device.
Yeah.
Every action, every business deal, every whisper, every thought is logged.
It says everything is recorded in a clear database. Kitab Mubin.
Think about the implications of that for a second. We operate as if our private moments are private, as if our internal thoughts are just ephemeral, smoke that disappears into the air.
But they're not.
The perspective here is that nothing is lost. Information is never destroyed. This system captures every single keystroke.
That is terrifying. I mean, truly. To be so fully known, flaws and all.
It's terrifying if you're running corrupt code.
Yeah.
It's absolutely terrifying if you're the oppressor we talked about earlier, doing your deals in the dark, thinking you've evaded the law.
But what if you're not?
Well, if you're aligned with the system, it's comforting. It means your struggle is seen. Your patience is recorded. No good deed is ever lost in the static. It means the universe is not indifferent to your effort.
But the text notes a bug in the user base here. Verse 10.60.
Yes. It says, most of them do not show gratitude in action. The system is bountiful, the data is clear, the provisions are there. But the users, that's us, we fail to output the correct response.
And the correct response isn't just saying thanks.
No, absolutely not. The correct response to a functioning, bountiful system is gratitude in action. It's utilizing the provisions to help others, sharing the bounty. When we hoard, when we tamper, when we restrict, we're failing the gratitude test.
For corrupting the input.
And if the system gives you output and you block it, the system backs up. And that backup is what we call suffering.
Okay, so let's look at the full dashboard. We have the diagnosis.
Yeah.
We're glitching with doubt, hypocrisy, arrogance. We have the patch, the Quranic Shifa and Nur.
Nugger and the new OS.
We have the consequences, the non-negotiable law of just requital. And we have the monitoring system, the clear database. So what happens when it works? When the patch installs successfully and the system reboots.
This is the outro of the code, the successful compile. Verses 10.62 through 10.64 describe the result of the correction.
It says, remember that friends of God will have nothing to fear, nor will they grieve.
Just pause on that for a moment. No fear, no grief. Fear is anxiety about the future. What if I crash? Grief is trauma about the past. I wish I hadn't crashed.
And the grand correction removes both.
It removes both. It places the human psyche in a state of absolute security.
That is the ultimate user experience. Zero latency, zero anxiety.
It is. And notice the definition it gives for these friends of God. It's not people who wear specific robes or chant specific phrases or have long titles.
No. Verse 10.63 defines them simply as those who accept the message and live upright.
That's it. They aligned with the system. They stopped fighting the source code.
And the result of that alignment is what the text calls the supreme triumph.
Good news in this world and in the hereafter. A rationalist looks at this and sees the ultimate efficiency. When you align with the laws of gravity, you can build skyscrapers.
You align with the laws of aerodynamics, you can fly.
And when you align with the laws of sovereign intelligence, you achieve the supreme triumph. You simply stop fighting the universe.
You stop fighting the current, and you finally learn how to swim with it.
Or, to stick to our metaphor, you finally stop crashing. The universe isn't chaotic, my friend. It isn't broken. It's just waiting for you to install the update.
That's a lot to process. But it's a hopeful thought, isn't it? The anxiety isn't the end state. It's just the notification light blinking on the dashboard.
And the manual is right there.
We'll leave you with that thought. Check your dashboard. Look at the blinking lights. And maybe, just maybe, it's time for a reboot. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Deck.
Until next time.